Hello, you're watching WOLFpak Live, and I'm your host, Wendy Fortino. We are here with our one and only resident expert at MMA, Coach Javier Mendez, who owns American Kickboxing Academy. He's out in Dubai right now, and it's midnight out there?
Yes, midnight, yes.
Yes. So this is also his 5th time appearing on our show to give his take and his insight. And it's a real pleasure and a real gift. And thank you so much for being here. How are you doing tonight, this morning?
I'm doing
tonight
good. It's an honor to be here with you again for the 5th time.
I know.
I'm excited. Let's see what you got.
Yes. So Javier is the expert. We're going to be covering today we're going to be covering everything that's happened so far in the UFC this year. UFC, there's no seasons. It's a year-round sport. So, but we have had so far this year, we've had UFC 311 through UFC 316 with some really exciting title fights being had. So I have this little short video to kind of give everyone a little bit of a brush up, and then we're going to go and get right into it.
Shoots that double leg, gets his hands locked. Look at him get to the corner, though. Drive, and look at him attack the neck and then run him back over to the opposite side. Knew he was going to attack the Darce right away.
So really fast, Javier, while we're watching this one, this was so Makhachev and Moicano. I want to just dive in really fast. This fight was interesting because this wasn't the original fight that was supposed to happen. So can you just kind of fill us in on that?
Well, it wasn't the original fight that was supposed to happen, but his original opponent basically couldn't make it. And, for whatever reason, at the present time, it just went blank as to who the original opponent was.
Yeah.
I'm like, who was it? It was, can you remind me, refresh my memory?
It was supposed to be Tisk. His name was started with a TSU. It's a really unique last name. Tisano.
How can I even forget? I'm an expert. You called me an expert, but I forgot.
You are an expert. No, you're just making me
originally fight this guy, and I forgot, and I'm an expert. Come on.
You're making me feel better because there's nothing better than sitting with an expert and
you are expert to expert. I just don't know why I went blank. My mind went blank. I was just thinking Moicano, and then I'm thinking, well, who was there before that? It wasn't Justin Gagey. It wasn't Dustin because he already fought Dustin. It was. I screwed you up too. This is a screw up. You called me an expert. You messed up by that one. So let's forget about who he was going to fight. Let's just go on.
Sarukian.
Armin Sarukian, yes. Yeah. I mean, yes. Well, why did I forget that one? Yeah.
He got injured right before. Yeah.
He basically, something happened with him. I don't know, his back or something. I wasn't quite sure what happened, but it reminded me of something that's similar that happened with Habib. Why did I forget Sarukian? How can I forget such a great fighter? Unbelievable. Oh, jeez. But anyways, Armin was pulled out, and then Moicano was supposed to fight on this card anyway, and I believe Moicano was supposed to fight the jiu-jitsu guy from San Diego. I forgot his name. I don't know. I'm forgetting everybody's name.
That's
but anyway,
okay.
Moicano was there just in case, to take the place of Armin or Islam, whoever was not going to make it. So that's what ended up happening. Moicano came in and it was one of those situations with Islam because he's so good in all areas.
Yeah.
We decided that he was going to take him down and basically work him on the ground. And that's what the plan was. The plan was to set up. And if something happened on the stand-up, great. But we were looking for the takedown. And there you go. That's what he got. He got the submission. And, it was really not that hard of a fight because he was ready for anybody. So it just
that's the ideal way to go, right? By submission.
Yeah. To fight someone on that short of notice that's not quite exactly the way the other guy was, but in all honesty, Moicano was an easier fight for us. It really was.
Yeah.
Islam proved that point because with Armin, I don't think it would have been as quick as that. I really don't think so. I think
from the corner,
longer.
Khabib Nurmagomedov, Javier Mendez, Mavlid Khabulaev.
And of course, you're his coach.
This team is just incredible. And after Islam Makhachev submits Renato Moicano,
Well,
Khabib is coaching
the
in the
main
corner,
guys
right? These guys never rest
not the
on their
head coach, but the main
hardest
guys
workers in the
guys
room.
And before Khabib was Khabib's father,
to show for
Abdulmanap, he was the main one.
I've
I've been fortunate to support for them and be their head guy, but really the grunt of the work is really on Khabib and the other coaches. I come in and honestly, I take some of the credit for what these other guys do such a marvelous job with these guys year round. I'm only there 1 month out, 2 months out, fight camp. I'm not there year round. Like, with Islam, he's got his coaches that are there year round with him, and Habib's there year round. Me, I'm sporadic, 2 fights a year. So I'm there with him maybe the 3.5 months, at the most, I mean, that's the honest truth, but I mean,
but you're the wizard.
I had my value. But they have consistent training all the time.
Yeah.
I'm able to fit in on the spot, and I'll take that position where I need to take it to utilize the best benefit for the fighters. I'll take the second seat if I have to. It doesn't matter. What matters for me is them winning. That's the number one thing. And, I've been fortunate to be in a position where Khabib allows me that reign. If I want to take command, I take command. If I want to be behind, I'll be behind. But as long as I'm there, I have to be there because they need me there. But who runs the whole program, that doesn't matter.
Yeah, but okay, maybe that doesn't matter. But let me ask you this. I have a question. It must feel really good though when you have been the mentor of Khabib and your fighters that now are stepping in to be the main coaches. I mean, to know that you started that legacy, it has to feel so good. And not because you want to get credit for it, but because it's something that just makes you feel like you've created this and established this camaraderie and this family, right?
Yeah. Well, you're correct, but in all fairness, let's because it was his father's responsibility. They grew these kids up. It's a combination of his father, them taking over what their father did, and I come and added my flair to it. So I added to what they already had. It isn't like, they didn't have it already. They had it, but I just added. So I made it our way, but they already had a good program. And when you go back to watching their father when he was running the program, it was pretty much very similar to what they're running now. I would come in and I would add some key points that are very instrumental in helping them improve. But they had the foundation. They had a huge foundation, and I was just fortunate enough to be there with them, and realize I had and just help polish the diamonds that were already there. And that's a lot of what I did.
I swear the best coaches are always so humble. It's crazy. I mean, I know, I get it, but you can let other people say that for you. I mean, I think that it goes without saying, looking across the board at all of what everybody shares about you, people really admire you and respect you. So, but I think it's good to be the way that you are, give credit to the people that have kind of carried on your legacy for sure.
Well, my whole life, it's always been about who do I help, so when you're talking about me, I'm always talking about, well, if you're going to talk about me, who can I talk about? That's been that's who I am. It's never been me. It's always been, who can I help? If you gave me $20, I'm looking, who can I help share this $20 with?
I know.
So that's just my personality. So, it's hard for me to take credit for anything when I'm looking to give credit myself for a job great done. But not job great done, but I've always been that way. And and I'm happy with my life that way. I don't need to be in the center of attention or anything, but I do want to be in the center of winning. You're
like, let me get that straight.
We got clear on that. I do love winning because that's what it's about. Because the losing in our sport, it's very difficult. The losses, they suck big time. So I love the winning. I don't like the losing. Losing means, what did we do wrong? What do we do to fix it? How can we fix it? Or can we fix it? Or time for our fighter to maybe think about something else. I mean, it's difficult. Losses come very difficult.
It's crazy. It's you look at somebody like Makhachev, who has a winning streak of like 15 fights in a row he's won.
15, yeah.
And that is so incredible, because every time that you win a fight, you're securing your spot in the UFC. And as long as you want it to be there. Yeah. But then when you lose, you have to start worrying about your contract. You have to start worrying about, are they going to want to keep me around? I think that would be the most stressful thing.
Yeah, you're right about that. But in Islam's case, if he loses, which he's not going to,
no,
him losing right now is not going to hurt him whatsoever. He's one of their biggest stars by far. John.
Now he has the light heavyweight title, right?
No, he has the lightweight title. He just relinquished that to go for the welterweight title.
Got it.
So
okay.
Going for the 170-pound title. He was the 155 champion. He let that go because they're giving him an opportunity to fight for the welterweight title, 170 title. So he's going to fight there. We don't have a date yet, but it's coming when the UFC announces it'll be official. But he's fighting the champ that beat Muhammad, the guy that beat Bilal Muhammad took his title. That's who he'll be fighting. And the reason why he's fighting that person and not Bilal is because Bilal and him are like brothers, and they trained with Bilal trained with us. So he's specifically Habib, not so much Islam. He trained specifically with Habib, and he just didn't feel right fighting him. So we weren't going to fight Bilal if he won. But since he lost, the UFC gave him the opportunity to fight for the welterweight title. So Islam, of course, wants a legacy fight. So he decided to take this fight. And all along, Islam had said to me, the coach, I want to defend the title more than anybody, the lightweight title. He goes, I want to defend it 4 to 5 times. Once I've done that, then I would like to see if I can have an opportunity to go for the welterweight title. He goes, what do you think about that? I said, I think that's a great plan, and to be a 2-time champion, that would secure his legacy and pound for pound, one of the greatest, and I said, that's a good move. So there was a lot of talk about Topuria, coming up in weight from featherweight to lightweight to fight with Islam. But, it was like for Islam, there was no benefit. And Topuria is super tough to count, not to count, but to depend on him being an easy fight, not an easy fight. So Islam preferred that he rather go for the welterweight title, and, if he's going to do something, he'd rather go something that's a bigger accolade, and the bigger accolades is fighting a welterweight title who's much bigger. And honestly speaking, because he's bigger and he's actually a little bit more dangerous for us. He's
so lean though already. Gosh, like he's gonna have to lose muscle.
Well, I can't explain to you about weight cutting because
I know.
Ain't nobody gonna be how smart you guys on weight cutting. You guys know it all. The expert, the cut and weight, you guys have that dialed, so you guys know how to do that properly.
I mean, it doesn't look like there's any way for him to cut, I guess is what I'm saying. But
well, as you know, it's water weight. The vast majority of what they do, they basically load up on water and then come, the night.
So what's the weight difference from lightweight to welterweight? What's the difference?
It's 15 pounds.
Oof.
155, 170, so 15-pound difference.
Oh, wow. Okay, but this is an interesting question. Now that the lightweight title is going to be up for grabs, what do you think about who's going to take that?
Well, no, that was already established. That's Topuria. Ilis Topuria is fighting. He's fighting for that title. He's my gosh.
Charles
Oliveras. Charles Oliveras. He's fighting Charles Oliveras. Why am I forgetting these things? They're like, God, you confused me. Why'd you call me an expert? You shouldn't have called me an expert. I'm forgetting Charles Oliveras. Yes. And that should be an interesting fight. Charles. I'm favoring Topuria in that one, but I can't count Charles out. But Topuria is he's on a tear. So there's a really good possibility that he may raise his hand. And maybe not. I mean, Charles up the middle with knees and submissions, are probably going to favor Charles. But, Topuria's got some excellent boxing, extremely, hardcore, really dialed in boxing. So I'm favoring Ilya in that one. But we don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. And you never know. Someone can get a lucky strike. You never know.
Yeah, or just a shot that's intended,
Yeah.
Sometimes we call it lucky shot. Other times it's I intend to hit you with my right hand or right knee, or or I intend this submission. I attempted it and I got it. So sometimes people call it lucky, but other times it's what we plan to do, right?
It's intended according to the giver, but it's a lucky one according to the receiver.
Yes, it's a lucky one, right? Because you just lucked out because you landed it, but yeah, my intent was to land it. So
Right.
I
Yeah,
got
yeah.
lucky. I got lucky. So 9 out of 10 times they say it doesn't happen, but okay,
Yeah.
that was the 10th time. I don't know.
Yep.
It happens.
Okay, so the next one we have, let's run through these really quick. The UFC 312, we had Strickland and Duplessis.
Yeah.
And Duplessis won, and he defended his middleweight championship belt. We had talked about this before, but we were talking about how Sean Strickland got a crazy blow to his nose, broke his nose, and then he reset his nose in the middle of the match.
Yeah. He was running, resetting his nose.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
No,
So,
he's a warrior, man. He's like crazy. It's like, this one here was more, it was more obvious that the Duplessis won the Triple D. Let's call him Triple D. He basically won this one bigger than he did the first one. It was very impressive. And for whatever reason, Strickland was not quite in this one. Maybe it was due to the broken nose type scenario. I don't know, but this was more clear for the champ's favor.
Yeah. I have an interesting question for you about the different weight classes, but just to kind of continue this brief rundown, 314, Volkanovski.
Yeah.
And then the welterweight champion Muhammad and 315
against Jack Magdalena.
Yep.
Yeah. That's the one. Yeah, and then. But you're talking O'Malley versus.
And then and the final one that we just saw that we just had. Did you watch that fight, right?
Yes, I watched Marab and O'Malley. Yeah.
Yeah. And this was a crazy fight. So we're going to talk about all of these, but I just want to kind of give a brief rundown of all these fights. And then the honorable mention that I thought was really interesting was Pena versus Harrison, which was super anticipated. And Harrison is a freaking badass. My gosh. She really impressed me. And I want to talk about what happened after that too, because we had a potential face-off with Nunes and Harrison in the future. So this is a lot, and we're going to cover all of it, but I just want to kind of give a brief rundown on all of that. First, I want to ask you this, okay? With all these weight classes, when I'm watching, because I'm starting to really get into this a lot more, it genuinely looks like every fight, depending on the weight class, is a totally different fight, right? Because if you think about it, you have the lightweight fighters, look at the guys that are like 125, 130 versus the guys that are like a lot heavier, between like 170, 180, 190. Like the range of the weight classes, I feel like the fight is a totally different fight. You're talking about a difference of endurance, speed, power, and there are different techniques that are used depending on the weight class. Is that an accurate assessment?
Yes and no. I mean, it's all based on speed and power. Usually the lighter guys don't have the power that the heavier guys have. So the lighter guys.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. In that regard, there is more to the lighter guys. They can do a little bit more than the heavier guys. So the lighter guys have a tendency to not have the same kind of power that the heavier guys do. So in that regard,
Like, do we see a lot of this is a genuine question because I'm trying to learn and help our viewers learn too. But you would more likely see submission in the lighter weight classes than the heavier weight classes? No?
No, not necessarily. It could be
Okay.
equal on both sides, you know. But as far as KOs, knockouts, you'll have a tendency to see more on the heavier brackets. But the lightweights do knock people out. It's just not as much. They still do. They still do. So the heavier guys carry more of a punch. The lighter guys basically tendency don't have that kind of power. But some do. Some do.
Yeah.
So there's not really more submissions per se. It's just a matter of the power. The bigger guys have more power.
Now, you study the strengths of all these fighters, right?
More or less, yes.
Yeah. So because they might be watching this. So let's start with Duplessis and Strickland. Okay. Let's break it down. So Duplessis, Strickland, when you're watching them fight, what would you say are their strengths, weaknesses?
Well, for Duplessis, he's he's pretty freaking good everywhere. He knows how to mix it up, kicking, punching, mixing it up, try to come in with the grappling, the whole bit. And with Strickland, the problem with Strickland is he doesn't get going to the later rounds, and he gives up rounds, in my opinion. And that's what's cost him some of the fights I've seen him, is he starts too late. Like when he lost the title to him, he started too late, and he was always in the fight, but the rounds were close, but he wasn't active enough, So Lisa's on the other side, who's being very active. He's doing the kicking, the punching, everything. He's doing everything. And you got Strickland, who was just sporadic, coming, defending, this, that, but wouldn't do anything back. So at the end of the day, was a person that put more combinations together and more offensive, is what the big difference was. And that was the major difference. It wasn't much of a ground per se, but it was definitely more output from the champ, which is Duplessis. He put more of an effort, whereas Strickland didn't until the later rounds. He started coming out a little strong, but it's a little too late, in the first fight. In the second fight, no, he just, Triple D just had his number.
That's what I kind of thought too. So when I was watching that fight, I felt like they were like doing stand up for so long, and it just kind of looked like a dance. They were just kind of dancing around the ring, and for so long I just was like, someone do something, but it did kind of look like, Sean was kind of tempering his moves, really trying to figure out when he was going to start going for it. But maybe, like you said, it was a little bit too late, too late.
Yeah, too late. Yeah, that was what I thought when I watched it. He just wasn't active enough, and he wasn't getting beat by any means, but he just wasn't doing enough, and Duplessis he was doing a lot, and that's what I felt cost him the first fight. The second fight, like I said, that was a different story. The second fight, that was pretty much Triple D. He had that one.
Yeah. All right. So we have Pereira and Ankalaev. So UFC 313. That was actually really exciting. And this was actually really exciting all the way from the check-ins, because Pereira came in his full garb. This is a normal thing for him, right?
Yes, this is normal, and it does the arrow shooting, bam, he's
Does this intimidate do you think this intimidates his opponents?
I'm not sure about that, but it's his heritage, so he's very prideful, so he does this all the time. It's pretty cool.
I thought this was so cool. I mean, cool. I some of them do kind of show up with something that kind of makes them unique. Do you think that this current era that we're living in, where everyone's trying to stand out and be unique, or maybe share a little bit of their culture or whatever, do you think that is this unique, or has it been going on since like the very beginning, since pre social media days?
Yeah, it's been going on as far as fighting entertainment before social media days. It's been going on. There's been like in the boxing world, there's been Prince Hamed. They would come in on a throne, being carried on a throne, and a bunch of guys in the boxing world would come in like that. So this is pre social media days. So this is good for some fighters that have that charisma. They want to come out and portray themselves as this person, but they fight like a lion, but this is their getup, you know, and that's Alex Pereira's thing.
Yeah.
He's a lion. He likes dressing up like that. That's his thing.
Yeah. He's scary. He's very quick and scary, and I don't know. I think his style is very intimidating, but he did lose the match to
Ankalaev. Yeah.
And
it was a really, really good fight, you know, and basically it was one where I thought Ankalaev was going to just stand with him, you know, and I thought that was going to be a big mistake, you know, to just do strictly stand up, because Ankalaev is a good grappler. He's a good wrestler, really good. And I was kind of shocked that he actually fought this fight very intelligently. He did not traditional stand up. He actually mixed it up. So he threw Alex way off his game plan. So he was able to implement a lot of his offense while he was throwing Alex off. So he was able to land a lot. And on this one here, was clear that Ankalaev won this fight, you know, in very impressive fashion for me. I was very interested in this fight because of the technicality of what Ankalaev was doing, you know, and being able to implement his style and perfection. I was afraid that originally Ankalaev wouldn't do this, because I knew he could do it because he trains with us. You know, I've seen him next to us. I've seen him sparring. I've seen what this guy can do. And when he went out and fought the way he did, I was so impressed. I went, damn, this is what I thought he could do. And I didn't think he was going to do it. And he did. He mixed up his wrestling, his stand-up. He has really good stand-up. But realistically, you know, Pereira has the better stand-up, you know.
Yeah.
But he didn't let it sink in. He didn't let Pereira get in his groove. He didn't, you know, so he allowed his, you know, grappling to take effect, you know, and he closed in. He closed in on the close. I think it was the fourth round. He came in and he smothered him, and he took Alex completely out of that fight in the fourth round by just smothering him up against the cage. And that was beautifully done by him. He won that round beautifully. It was boring a little bit from the crowd point of view, but from a strategic point of view, it was a beautiful display for Ankalaev. So it was a good win for him. Very good win.
Yeah. I have a question for you. How much do the fighters talk before the matches? Because I know there have been some matches where the fighters talk and they come to an agreement, you know, we're going to do all stand up, or I'm going to fight with your style. Or, I mean, is that something that is common for fighters to do?
Sometimes, not too
You're
common.
like, not my fighters.
Yeah, I don't want my guys doing that. But sometimes they do that, and sometimes they'll stick to their words. And sometimes a fighter will say, "I'm going to stand with them. I'm going to stand with them." And okay, I'll give you an example. Well, we'll talk later about that, but we'll bring that up. But yeah, some fighters that they do make those things. Yeah, let's stand. You're not going to stand with me. I dare you to stand.
Yeah.
And they get tested and they go and do the stand up. They'll do it even though they didn't want to. That wasn't the game, but they'll do it. You know. So yes. Sometimes, but I don't want my guys doing that. No way. Because that's going to take away our advantage. If that's what we were planning, no problem. But if that wasn't the game plan, I'd be like, no, please don't. You know, and we let the fighters fight the way they want to fight. But my thing is, as an advisor, a coach advisor, I guess, if you will, I would say, hey, is it really the best way for you to win that fight? I don't think it is. So please think about how you're going to fight this fight. Do you want to make it easier? You hard. You want to secure your payday. Like usually these guys get a fight purse and a bonus, right? So it's a win. It's a show and win. And usually, if you lose half your pay. So these guys need to realize, okay, if you're not getting paid the same, win or lose, you lose half your pay. So think about that. So it's one of those things where, you know, you need to be careful on you know, how you want to fight. So you want to fight strategically where you can win, not to excite the crowd. I know a lot of fighters that want to excite the crowd. My mentality is to always teach my fighters to get the win first, then excite the crowd. But
that's exactly it. I think I vaguely remember, but I think that's what happened with Duplessis and Strickland. I think that Duplessis agreed to fight in mostly stand-up, because their fight, if I'm not mistaken, was like almost like a full-blown kickboxing match.
Yeah.
Am I thinking of the right one?
You might be right about that. You know, it was mostly stand-up, but But in all fairness, Sean Strickland is not so easy to deal with on the ground. But Duplessis is a better ground guy than him for sure. But regardless, Duplessis was winning on the stand-up, so why even bother going to the ground? He was doing great stand-up.
Yeah.
But no need for him to go to the ground. If he was happy doing the stand-up, he was winning that very decisively, so it was okay.
I don't think that they ever went to the ground. I mean, there was their fight.
I don't recall them going to the ground either. I think it was mostly.
I mean, they were like, it was like a full-blown kickboxing match.
Yes.
Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about that too. I thought that was interesting. All right, so Volkanovski and
Diego
Lopez.
Yes.
And Volkanovski.
Alex. I screw up on the names too. Alex.
Yes. So Volkanovski won, right? Yes. And let's talk about that. So Volkanovski, he regained the featherweight championship, right?
Yes. Yeah.
What is featherweight?
Featherweight's 145.
145. Okay. So what are your thoughts on these two fighters?
Well, Volkanovski, he lost his title to Ilia Topuria originally when he lost his title. He got knocked out by Topuria with the right hand. Boom, just he had his chin up and boom, got nailed. So he was supposed to fight Topuria again. I don't know what happens behind the scenes, et cetera, et cetera. But then Alex, he was offered the title fight, right? And Topuria wanted to fight Islam. So he wanted to go up to lightweight. So basically, the only way he was going to be able to go to lightweight is if he relinquished his title, because the UFC does not want the featherweight and the lightweight to be held by one person, because then the titles get held up, because, sometimes the lightweight champion only going to defend it once or twice, and he's going to defend lightweight or featherweight. It just takes up too much time, so the UFC decided that they don't want to have any champion now hold two titles at one time. So Topuria had to leave his title if he wanted to go up. So he wanted to fight for the lightweight title. He was tired of making featherweight division weight, so then step in Diego Lopez, and Diego Lopez is really tough customer, so that was a very, very good fight. But Volkanovski's been there before, and he just even the fight with Volkanovski when he fought Topuria, it wasn't like Topuria was kicking his butt. He wasn't actually on points. It looked like Alex was actually scoring more, but what counted at the end is when Alex put the hands on him. But this one here was the same thing. Alex basically was outpointing this guy, and this guy didn't have that kind of power and the skill in boxing that Topuria had. So, it was good for Alex to regain his title, and he's going to go on to defend it a few more times. I'm sure he's going to definitely he might go down as the greatest featherweight of all time, Alex.
Wow. Okay, I have a question. If he wants to keep his featherweight title, okay. Another thing I have two questions kind of loaded into one, but my first question is it easier to find fighters for title fights in the lighter weight categories? I would imagine it probably is. Like, this is probably the ideal weight, like the weight class, like this, like somewhere around like 140 to 160, I would imagine is probably the easiest group of men to find, title fights for, versus like the heavyweight, right?
No, they're all the same, Wendy, because
really?
Yeah, because you have the top 10, and every division has a top 10. So it's easy to fight, title contenders. And
what about super heavyweight?
We don't have super heavyweight.
What about heavyweight?
Heavyweight, yes, easily. It's 205. Easy? Yeah, easy. 205 to 160 to 265, and they usually have a top 10 ranking. So there you go there's your alphabets to pick 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. So they have. Every division has plenty of challengers. Every division. It's just a matter of which one's going to make the most money for them. It's never going to be, realistically, you think number one is going to go against the champ every time, but no, it's not the case here. It's not like a sport. It's not like a true sport. It's not like the NFL versus the NFL versus the AFL, right? The champions fight for the Super Bowl, right?
It's not a true tournament where you're.
Yeah. It's always going to be that way, but not in MMA, not in boxing. It's always what's going to make the most money for the promotion. And So they'll go, sometimes they'll go with number one versus the champ, but a lot of times, you know, they go on what's going to make the most money. And in this particular case, I'll just use Sugar Sean O'Malley in Marab. You know, Sugar Sean, he lost his title to Marab, right? He didn't have to refight for it. He just got a rematch without having to refight for it. Most of the time, you'd have to fight. You know, if in a true sport, you'd have to fight to regain your spot. You didn't have to. You just could fight based on his popularity, you know, and that's what the sport is more about. So I always tell people it's more entertainment first. So people shouldn't get too upset when you see someone get a title shot that you don't think deserves it. But yeah, maybe you're right on the sporting level, but on the fan level, they do the algorithm. They look and see who's going to make the most sales for them, and that's who's going to get the title shot, you know, or who they face. Yeah, that's what this sport's about.
Okay, but let's say you want to hang on to your title, and let's say the UFC finds a title fight match that they want you to be in, because this goes along. I'm asking this question because there's an issue right now going on in this exact question that I'm asking. Somebody owns a title and they want to hang on to it. They don't want to let it go. And then a title fight is determined for you to fight in, and you don't want to do the fight because you want to hang on to your title. What happens then?
Well, the UFC has two choices. If that fighter rejects the championship bout that they're offering, I mean, he's the champion, but you're refusing this opponent. The UFC has two options. They can either count that as a no fight and extends your contract. Okay, that's one. Or two, if you don't take the mandatory challenge that they're giving you, this disqualified to go for that title, they strip you of your title. You know, and so that's the case that will happen. So you can't, the champion, as a champion, the UFC will never allow you to control what they're going to do. They're going to control at the end of the day. But remember, it's all about money too. If you're talking about anybody in particular, especially if you're talking about a John Jones, who's
that's what I was just going to tell you. I was just going to say
one of the most popular guys out there. So it's very hard to strip him of the title when people want to see him fight, because you do that and you just lost revenue. John Jones is realistically, for MMA, he's definitely one to watch. So I think that in John Jones' case, what's going to end up happening is they're going to give him a situation where you fight Tom Aspinall, or you relinquish the title, or if they're hoping John Jones will come later, they'll squeeze another title, intermediate title defense for Aspinall, but Aspinall already fought one, contender fighter like that, so he already defended his title already, you know. But it's not the real title. John Jones has the real title. So worst case, the UFC would probably give him another one, but I think in this case, what they should do is offer it to Jones, find the date, and if Jones refuses it, I think that basically he should strip him of the title. You know, I mean, the guy already fought one interim title defense. You haven't. If you win the title, you have not fought anybody. So by all rights, Aspinall has every right to say, hey, I want my opportunity. He's earned it. You know, he's earned it. So whether the UFC agrees with what I'm saying or what you're thinking, it doesn't matter what they want to do. That's their business. But for me, Aspinall's earned the right to fight for that heavyweight strap. He's earned that. He's earned that right. He is the mandatory, absolute number one contender for that title. That interim title doesn't mean anything to me. It just means you're number one contender. That's all that means to me. You're not the real champion.
Why is John Jones delaying so much?
It's hard to say. I mean, he's been around forever. You know, he's been a champ for a long, long time. He's held the title longer than anybody. You know, he's defended more titles than anybody ever has. You know, the guy is meticulous at what he does. He wants to make sure whenever he takes a fight that's darn sure he's going to win that fight in every.
What's his weight class again?
He's a heavyweight.
Heavyweight, yeah.
He was a light heavyweight. He reigned as a light heavyweight forever.
Yeah.
Then he got into heavyweight. He just basically. He won the heavyweight title and against Sorogan, and then he defended against Miocic, which really not true heavyweights that are all the way around like Aspinall. Like Miocic was all the way around, but the problem with Miocic is he was 42 years old, and he hadn't fought for a while because they kept delaying that one. One injury or this or that. There was a lot of delays, and John Jones delayed that one a lot too because he wanted to gain weight to make sure that he was at the right weight before he fought Miocic. So that took a while. So I think it was 2 or 3 years almost before that fight materialized. So there was a lot of ring rust and time, father time clicking on Miocic's part. So, and then with Cyril Gane didn't really have much of a ground, and so John just took him down and submitted him right away. So
do you know how old John Jones is?
I think he's, I want to say 35, 36, somewhere in there.
Okay.
Maybe 37.
That seems to be like the age that like fighters seem to peak at. I think that's Merab's age. That's
Merab's 34 or 35.
Yeah.
34, 35. Yeah. I mean, the way Merab's going, he can go on forever. He's got cardio.
I know.
Yeah. So, but anyways, in regards to what you're talking about, I think that the UFC needs to make you need to fight this date, and if you don't, we're gonna have to take your title from you. You can't continue to hold that title ransom. You can't. He's gonna have to defend it. It's not fair that these guys. It would not be fair for Aspinall to fight another interim title defense. It's not fair. He's correct. They say either give me my shot or, move on. Let me fight somebody else. It's not Jones that is after the title. So don't hold the title up for ransom. If you're not going to defend it, then let it go. If you're not ready to fight, then let it go. And then you fight for the title when you're ready to fight.
I guess that's what I wanted to know, because I think that it's interesting because, we're talking about a sport, but it's also a business, and trying to balance that out. And, some of these fighters, they get to be so big. And this is the interesting thing about our time right now too, because not only are we talking about people that are like amazing fighters or amazing athletes, but also people who have incredibly large social media following, or, let's say somebody has, 40 million followers. I mean, that type of following could really help any business, So that's an interesting little nuance there.
Yeah. For MMA fighters, the biggest ones that have the most following, they're basically not even fighting. And it's Khabib and Conor McGregor. They're the ones that have the most. Other than that, it's like John Jones. He's got, I think he's over 10 million, and Islam Makhachev over 10 million. I think Alex Pereira is close to that. If I'm not mistaken. So those are the main that have the most following. They got decent following. They got a decent following. But the big ones was Khabib and Conor. Conor's at 40-something million, and Khabib's close to 40.
That's just insane. I mean, it's just mind-blowing, Before we bounce to 315, I wanted to ask you about Makhachev, because he was all the way back in January. What are your plans with him, or do you not want to share? It's up to you.
No, the plan is he's going to fight for the welterweight title. We just don't know when.
Yeah. Okay.
Jack Magdalena. Magdalena beat Bilal Muhammad, and we're talking about that situation with Bilal and Jack, and you're talking about what we talk about, the game plan and stuff. With that fight there, when you watch that fight, first thing hit my mind is, why is Bilal standing with this guy when he was a superior wrestler? He didn't use his wrestling at all. And so he just stood with the guy. So basically, in my opinion, Bilal gave that fight away by standing with this guy when he should have just wrestled with him. And he was the better wrestler, and he didn't do it. So later, I see an interview with Bilal, and he stated that the game plan was not to stand with him. The game plan was to take him down. That's what his corner wanted him to do. That's not what he did. But see, also, I think personally, this is where Bilal tricked himself, because he said on the interviews, I'm going to stand with this dude. I can stand with him. I'm going to stand with him. So I think because the fight was so close, every round was very close where he was in it until the later rounds, that I think Bilal thought, okay, maybe I won that round. Because the first 3 rounds they're very, very close. I thought Bilal didn't win, but they were close. And if a judge would have given it to Bilal, I can see that. But he didn't implement his plan. And what I'm trying to say is, sometimes fighters, when they put it in their head, when they stand with this guy, they'll come out doing that. and then they get stuck there. And then if they think they're winning, they'll continue doing that, even though they're not. Even the corner might even tell them you're losing, but then in their mind they're thinking they're winning. And this happened to us too with DC when he fought John Jones the first time. DC thought he had won the first 3 rounds with John Jones, you know, in the fight, when in fact he only won the second round. So, you know, after the 4th round, he took completely the 4th round off. He took the 4th round off. And at the 5th round, we're coming to the 5th round. He goes, you know, how's the score? I go, well, we're down, you know, except he goes, no. He goes, I won. I go, no, you didn't. You only won the 2nd round. You know, you need to stop this guy. And he's like, whoa, you know, so he had a sense of urgency that he had to try to stop. And that was a little too late, you know, because now it was a matter of you're down, you know, 3 rounds to 1. You know, he basically lost 3, only won the 2nd round. And I was like, man, we need a stoppage here. And wasn't able to accomplish it. But that's when the fighters get in their head, you know, and they have to learn to, if they have a competent corner, they have to learn to listen to that corner, because a lot of the time they'll take it upon yourself. If you have a competent corner, listen to them. And then if you don't want to listen to their advice, then do what you got to do, but at least listen.
Right. I guess that's why you need a corner. Well, think about it. You're getting your brains mixed around.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, you're in the middle of a fight, and I mean, I could see getting a little delirious. I mean, most people, you know, get punched one time and they can't remember their name. So, I mean,
well, it's not so much like that as the ego gets in the way, and they prove this. They want to entertain. They're entertainers. We're entertainers at the day, and we want to show people our craft. We want to show people how good we can paint. In other words, here I am. You tell me I can't box, I can't do this, I can't do that. So here I'm showing you great boxing that I think is great, but you may not think it is, but I think it is. So I'm going to show you that deep down it's wrong.
We're the ones that showboat in the middle of the match, and they like try to like work up the crowd in the middle of the match, and you're just like, come on.
Yeah. The showboating not winning. If you're showboating and winning, I don't like showboating. But if you're showboating and winning, okay, I can take that. But if you're showboating, think you're winning, that's stupid.
Yeah. Right. Well,
when you think you're winning.
Okay. How about showboating after the match is over and you have won?
That's a good sign, believe it or not, because if you showboat after the match and you act like you're the winner, that kind of gets the judges on your side. If it's a really close round, they'll go with you, likely, because if you're the one that's showing you're like, I'm not this, and the other guy's like this, all tired, and even though the guy that's all tired might have edged the guy out, sometimes the judges will go with the person that's acting like the winner, you know, so it kind of messes.
It's interesting that you said that. That's interesting that you said that, because there were a couple of matches that I remember watching, and I thought, okay, that's definitely whoever I thought won, you know, but then what you're talking about, the other fighter made it look like he won the match. And I'm like, am I imagining things? And you're actually seeing yourself in real time getting fooled by what the result actually was, because the fighters are using that, I guess you want to say, psychology.
It is psychology, but it's also ring presence, you know, and then they show
ring presence,
the control, you know, and like I'll give you an example with Merab and Umar when they had their fight, you know, was one of those scenarios where Merab did a beautiful job in the 5th round of showmanship like that, you know. Umar was dog dead tired, you know, and he didn't show that, even though when you look at punch for punch, kick for kick, you know, there wasn't much there, but Merab showed the control, and Merab would throw him down, and Merab knew if he would attack them on the ground, it would have delayed everything. So he made it look like, okay, I controlled you. So it was a beautiful job on his part, you know. So you have to be able to play that showmanship up, and you got to know when to do it. And he definitely knows how to play it up really well.
Yeah. I thought that same exact thing when I watched the Merab and Umar fight. I thought, and now actually, this is actually interesting. I want to go back to, actually, let's skip ahead, because I want to talk about the Merab and O'Malley fight.
Yeah.
And because it really goes along with what we're talking about right now, which is basically before the fight, I felt like, and tell me what you think, I felt like O'Malley seemed really nervous going into the fight. He seemed just, because I've been there before, right? As an athlete, I just know, like, I'm getting ready to toe the line and I'm getting ready to start a race in track, and my nerves are just going crazy, and you could see it in my face. Like, I'm just like this ghost face, and like like I just saw a ghost. That is kind of like what I felt like when he did interviews, when people talked to him. He just seemed like really nervous about the fight. Did you notice that?
No, not really. What I noticed in the fight when I watched it was right off the bat, O'Malley came in with a different game plan. He came in to stay in front of him and try to pick him apart from a distance. And, it wasn't, Merab wasn't having any of that. He basically kept doing his thing. And as the round kept increasing in the first round, Merab put more pressure on him. And it basically took O'Malley out of his game plan and started running from him, like moving more away. And it wasn't until I saw when O'Malley hit him with a beautiful cross, it was right on the money, right in the chin. And freaking Merab took it like nothing. It was like the best shot that he had to offer was nothing, didn't even phase him. And from there, I thought it was all over. Right from that point, I go, it's all over. So then Merab incredibly fought in a phenomenal fight. He looked technically better than ever.
Yeah.
It was very impressive, extremely impressive. And to be able to submit O'Malley the way he did, and which is something we haven't seen from him, because we haven't seen him finish anybody really, not stand knockout or anything like that. Lately, we've just been seeing him grind people out. And, he's arguably, right now, he's number 2 pound for pound in the rankings, because of that performance. That was such a great performance that he took over number 2 pound for pound. And, I'm thinking, maybe it's too soon. But then again, really looking how he did it, maybe it is justified because of his win streak. I think he's on a 9-fight win streak, and he's fought the who's who, the division. And they're even considering him, as possibly the GOAT in the bantamweight division. And that might be accurate too. He might very well be the GOAT now too.
Well, and this move right here, his takedowns.
Yeah.
He's got the record of takedowns, 97 takedowns.
Does he? Okay. Yeah, he's phenomenal. I mean, the guy is a cardio machine, and he technically is better than he's ever been. I've never seen him so good as I did this last fight. And also, I think maybe a lot of it has to do with his new coach in Las Vegas. It's actually got to get him some good training there, because he's improved a lot. So I look forward to hopefully the day when we get another opportunity, hopefully, with Umar and him to go at it again. But let's see. I mean, we can't count too far ahead. We got to go with whoever we get next. And then hopefully we get by him. And if the UFC says we have to have another fight, then we have another fight, and it's just the way it is, I mean, how you get a title fight is based on what they want, and it's based on what the fans want. So if more fans are going to pay for an Umar Merab, too, then that's what will happen. But if more people pay for O'Malley and Merab 3, then that's what we're going to do, or Peter Yan and Merab. I mean, who knows? I mean, I'm not going to know who's going to be in the title spot when we get an opportunity again, because I know for sure we're not going to be fighting for the title anytime soon. We're going to have to win one or two before we get back into the title contention. I mean, Umar's fight was close with Merab, the closest out of anybody within the last 9 fights, I believe. But still, we were on the losing side, so we have to earn our spot back. They feel that we deserve that title shot, and who deserves it is based on, again, what the UFC thinks. And it isn't on the ranking. It could be. It's not going to be based. It's going to be based on the fans and what the UFC thinks.
Yeah, we had a Duplessis versus Strickland 2. We had a Merab versus O'Malley 2. You're talking about the possibility of a 3. I mean, what's the most that any 2 fighters have ever gone head to head?
I think 3. I'm not sure if 4. There might be somebody that escapes me that's had 4, but I think 3. I think 3 is about the most I've seen. But there might be a 4. There might be somebody that's 4. I don't know.
It's just interesting to me, because if you lose to somebody 2 times in a row, it's like, do you really want to go for a 3rd? Because you've already pretty much solidified the fact that but it's not your choice, right? Like you said, it's the choice of It's the UFC makes the decision.
They make the decision, and the fighter decides whether he wants to fight or not if he gets the opportunity. And usually it usually ends up a rubber match. So usually one wins, the other one wins the next one. So now the best out of three. Sorry. So then the third one is the rubber match. And in this particular case, it would be tough for Merab and O'Malley.
They'd have to go for 4.
Yeah, because the bottom line is this. Merab's beat O'Malley twice, decisively. The second time worse than the first time. So for O'Malley to get back in the title contention, he'd have to take on people like Umar, Peter Yan, and maybe one other guy, and beat all 3 of those guys before the UFC would probably give him another title shot. So I would think that O'Malley would be thinking about it. Umar's a good fight for us, because it would be a good fight for them to get them back in that title contention. So O'Malley has to fight all the top guys in order for him to get another opportunity. Otherwise, good luck. He's not going to. So, he'll have to fight like the killers, right? Corey Sandhagen, Peter Yan, and Umar. If he can beat all 3 and get those all 3 like that and beat them decisively, then I guarantee you the UFC would give him another title shot. But I don't know if that's going to happen, anytime soon. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to play out, but I do know that I don't see Sugar getting an opportunity again so quick after 2 disappointing. I just don't see it.
Yeah. Let's talk about the female side of things real quick, because we had a really exciting match. We had
Kayla Harrison versus
So Harrison versus Pena, and watch this really fast. Sorry. I don't know what. She secured the bantamweight championship. Harrison did.
Yes.
But the interesting thing was, right after the match, Amanda Nunes, who is in retirement and is considered one of the best UFC fighters on the female side, she came up out of the audience, and did you see that? She said that she wanted to maybe challenge. So what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's great.
Vision. The 130.
They used to be teammates. They used to train together, our American Top Team. And the word I got is Amanda Nunes, the former champ, left because of Harrison. She left the gym because of Harrison. So
really,
she knew she'd eventually have to fight her. So she left for that reason. From what I've been told, whether that's true or not, I really don't know. I just know what's been going out, that she left for that reason, and it wasn't something she felt comfortable doing in the gym. If you're going to fight someone that is grooming to be your next competitor, it's kind of tough, that you're sparring each other, and your coaches are giving her the attention that you think should go to you. So there's a lot of conflict involved in that kind of stuff. So, as it is, that's going to be a great fight, though. That's a fight I think we're all going to be interested in watching, but as it was, Harrison Kayla just became, in my opinion, like the second combat athlete she's the greatest female athlete of all time, combat athlete. And she might very well be the best out of all men and women, because there's only one other person that's done what she has done, and that's Henry Cejudo. Henry Cejudo has won the Olympic gold medal, and then he's won the flyweight and the bantamweight title in the UFC. So he's a 2-time 2-division champion for the UFC. Kayla Harrison, on the other hand, was a 2-time Olympic gold medalist in judo.
Yeah.
And now she's the PFL champion, was a former PFL champion, and now she's the UFC champion. So, I mean, arguably, just on records alone, Kayla's got Henry beat, so Kayla really is the baddest, female or all fighter of all sports, fighting sports. She's the GOAT of all fighting sports because of what she's done.
This was an exciting fight, and it's interesting because it was a title fight, but what I would love to see is a female main event. Do you think that it would be possible for Nunes and Harrison to be the main event?
Oh, easily. That's an easy main event. That's not a semi-main event. That's a main card. So no, that's a slam dunk. You got to remember, you're not too familiar with the MMA, but there was a time there when the biggest star in the UFC was Ronda Rousey when she fought.
I remember that.
Yeah. So she was the main event. She hardly took second seat to anybody. It was always her. She was the main one. And people were excited to watch her fight. You know, I was excited to watch her fight. I wanted to watch her lose, but regardless, I wanted to watch her, you know. She was exciting. I mean, she was exciting, you know. So on winning, she was exciting, and she always gave you a good taste or a bad taste because she was a good sport and a bad sport. You know, she was a good winner, bad loser. You know, and, sometimes she was a good winner, bad winner. You know, she's just had a personality that she let it out there. She didn't hide who she was. You know, and she was impressive. I wanted to see her lose more than win, though. But you know, when Holly knocked her out, I really liked that. And then Amanda Nunes got her, and I like that too. But still, I wanted to watch her. I wanted to watch her because she was must watch TV. She was main event material. You know, Ronda Rousey was main event.
No,
material.
I remember that. I remember her being the main event. I just haven't seen a female main event in a long time. I mean, it seems like it's been a while since we've had like the female side of it.
If I'm not mistaken,
Since Rousey.
You know, there's been quite a few. Valchenko was the main event, and Lei Wei was the main event. You know, but I got to look back to what you're saying. Maybe they weren't main event. Maybe they were semi-main. You know, I'm not sure.
Well, it's hard. Right. Well, she definitely stole the show, but it was a title fight, and she was a co-main event. So I could see how people might remember this as being the main event. That's how impressive Harrison was in UFC 316. Like 5 years from now, you know, the memory might be that she was the main event in UFC 316. I don't know, because but yeah, no, I think that it's bringing more excitement, I think, right now to the female side of things, you know.
Well, Harrison is bringing excitement to it because I mean, look at her, she's a specimen. I mean, when you look at her, and then when I've been around her in person, right, and that girl has got to be weighing about 170, 180, you know, pounds. Yeah. How does she make 135? And she's solid at 170, 180. I don't know what the actual weight is, but I've been around her. I've seen it, and I'm like, holy crap, this girl, she's built. You know, she's a Hulk. You know, so her making 35 was amazing. And from what I heard, that she had such a hard time making the weight, the last pound. She says she left it up to God's hands to make the last pound come off. You know, but this girl's a warrior. You know, and in all honesty, she deserves to be called the greatest fighting sports athlete of all time.
Yeah, she's amazing. I really enjoyed the fight. I thought, oh my God, I wasn't expecting this to be the most exciting fight of the night. And it was. So maybe everybody else was expecting it, but I was really excited about that.
I was expecting her to do what she did, so I wasn't shocked. I just knew the skill set. She had too much horsepower. Her judo. She's, you know, I don't really see any women that grapple with her, you know, on the ground. I don't really see anyone giving her much of a test in MMA. Really don't. Not in that arena. I mean, she has one loss from an opponent that beat her from the ground. The girl was on the back, and she beat her by scoring more points from the bottom, which is unbelievable how Harrison lost that. But she must not have been mentally there. I didn't see the whole fight. I just saw little clips there, and she lost her only one fight from mounting on a girl. She was on the top position, and she lost, which was weird because normally that never happens, but it happened to her.
How does that happen? That's interesting.
I don't know. I just think Kayla must have been in a fog. You know, she must have been caught like you know. And,
that happens.
It happens. It happened to me. It's called tunnel vision. You know, I've been in a few fights where I got tunnel vision where I'm just like this, and it happens.
Yeah, she makes me want to be a fighter. Too late for that. That ship has sailed. But no, I think that's what I love about her and her presence is I feel like she is a really good role model. She has great energy, and I think she's a great leader for this generation. So, for a lot of reasons, I'm really excited for her. Can't wait to see what she does next.
she's bringing some excitement to the bantamweight division, you know, for sure. And maybe because of her, the UFC will bring back the featherweight division, the 145 pounds. Who knows?
Yeah.
Because I mean, let's face it, Kayla Harrison can easily fight for that title, and they used to have it, and then they got rid of it. Who knows? Maybe Kayla Harrison can bring back the featherweight division for the women, which will give a lot of the women opportunities.
Yeah.
Because a lot of women can't make the bantamweight division. So
yeah,
it's kind of, to me, it's kind of cool when there's more divisions for more women to showcase their skills, but they can't get into the 135 because it's just too much for them, you know. And there's some very talented women out there. So if the UFC can bring back the featherweight division and Kayla could be the, you know, the one leading that way, that'd be great for the UFC women's featherweight division if they bring it back.
I think a lot of fans would like to see that, because then we'd see Kayla at her absolute best, if that's even possible. You know, I mean, if she's losing pounds at the last minute, leaving God's hands, she can't possibly be at her best, right?
But you got to remember, if I'm not mistaken correctly, for the PFL, she fought at 155-pound division, was a champion there, and I don't think that was too easy of a weight cut either. So think about that.
That's what I'm saying. If it's already hard enough for her to get down to 155, like how hard was it for her to get down to 135? I'm saying how could you possibly be peaking as an athlete if you're
20 pounds lighter than that? She's this girl is amazing. Amazing. It's amazing. I'm shocked.
Yeah, I mean, and she's that good. I guess I'm saying she would be even better if she didn't have to be cutting so much weight. She would be
definitely be stronger.
She'd be more dangerous.
Could very well be more dangerous, yes. You know, but I mean, she could be, I mean, honestly, she could probably go 135, 145, and 155 champ. She'd probably go 170 too. I mean, she's that good. And
let's see. Let's go. Let's go, Kayla.
You don't see too many women like her. You don't see too many women like her. It's actually, honestly speaking, I've never seen a woman like her.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah, she's amazing. But the person that has the best chance, you know, would be her teammate, Amanda Nunes. So now you're talking somebody that has some pretty good horsepower herself, who's a better striker. Not as good on the ground as Kayla is with the judo and everything she has, but I think she's formidable. I mean, and Amanda's pretty well, you know, in all the departments. And you look at the fights that you're putting up there, you know, Amanda's pretty good.
Let's see. Let's go, ladies. Oh my goodness.
That'll be
you know what? I love having you on, and I think we pretty much covered 311 through 316, and we got your insights and your take. So thank you so much. We'll have to bring you back for the second half of the year, right?
The second half of the year. make sure I really do my homework, because I should be sleeping on this one. I forgot names of who's fighting who fought this. I'm like, oh my God, I can't remember.
Don't worry, I have it. I got you.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I couldn't believe I forgot who.
That's okay. That's okay. To your defense, there's a lot of very unique, cool names, and I have a hard time pronouncing everyone, so I'm doing my best. But
I don't know about that. I'm notoriously the worst at pronouncing their names. You know,
Bob Ciccarello in bodybuilding, he's the voice of bodybuilding. He says, I may pronounce your name not wrong, and if I do, I suggest you change the way that you pronounce your name to the way that I pronounce it. So anyway, well, thank you so much. Don't go anywhere. I want to say goodbye to you on the flip side. And really fast, do you have any final words for everybody?
No, just thanks for having me on, and I hope I answered some of the so-called questions that a professional like me is supposed to answer.
You are amazing. As always, you are amazing. Very helpful, very insightful. It's second nature to you, so you don't even realize when you're being so insightful. So that's how it is when you're an expert. So thank you so much. And to everybody out there watching, thank you for tuning in. And this will be up on our YouTube channel, so you can come back and watch it. And until next time, I will see you guys on the flip side.